Somehow you eat the whole dish and you still find yourself wanting more. Welcome to the You Wanna Bite Kitchen, or if you've been here, thank you so much for coming back. Today's recipe was inspired by one of the best noodle spots in New York City, Xian Famous Foods. They're known for their variations of spicy noodles, and they literally have posters up in the restaurant practically warning customers to not order anything without at least some spice to it. Their noodles are hand pulled, like literally. So that is exactly what we're going to be recreating today. To make this Instagram famous dish at home, you're going to need all-purpose flour, salt, vegetable oil, scallions, garlic, cumin, soy sauce, vinegar, sesame oil, ground meat if you want, and chili flakes or something spicy. We're first going to put together our noodle dough, so you can do this with a stand mixer or by hand, but either way you're going to combine 375 grams of all-purpose flour, 200 milliliters of water, and a half teaspoon of salt until you get a shaggy dough, and then it's time to knead. I probably should have used my hands to get the shaggy dough consistency and then use the stand mixer to make it smooth, but I am going to knead by hand just to show you all that it is possible to do this with no equipment. If you saw my bagel video, you may remember I don't really know what I'm doing, but kneading is basically pulling and pushing the dough into itself for a few minutes until it gets smooth. Once you've got your dough smooth and into some sort of a ball, we need to divide it. So I'm first going to even out 4 sections and then cut each of those 4 in half. In total, I've ended up with 8 chunks of dough. These noodle chunks need to rest before we can actually pull them into noodles, so roll each one into a log shape and coat them all generously in oil and let them rest at room temperature for at least 3 hours. I've tried making these after just an hour and a half of rest time, and it was really hard to actually pull them into noodles, so 3 hours is ideal, but you can definitely do it longer if you want to make this in advance. I've done a 6-hour rest time and it's totally fine. It's been about 3 hours now, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on the sauce, but if you're only here to see the rest of the noodle making process, you can skip ahead to whatever time that is. But you are going to want to make your sauce ahead of time because the noodles cook up really quickly. The cool thing about this dish is that it's super customizable, so you can add whatever meat, veggies, spices that you want, but I'm going to be showing you the combination that I think is really tasty. So in a pan with some oil, I'm going to start off with a 1/4 pound of ground pork and season that with salt, pepper, cumin, and chili powder. Like I said, you can make this as spicy or mild as you want, but you're definitely going to want to season that with something and give that some time to brown before you remove that from the pot, so we can save ourselves some cleanup time and just use the same one for the chili oil. Start with 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil, a tablespoon of minced garlic, and about 3 chopped scallions. Now when it comes to heat, you can add whatever you're comfortable with. A lot of people use Szechuan chilies or chili oil. I have this oil from Trader Joe's that has chili and garlic in it already, which would be really quick and easy here, but all I have is crushed red pepper flakes, which is definitely not traditional, I don't think, in a Chinese inspired dish, but it will give me the heat that I'm looking for. So I'm adding a tablespoon of red pepper flakes and letting everything sizzle before adding 4 tablespoons of soy sauce and a tablespoon and a half of rice vinegar. Let everything kind of, what's the word? Combine? I don't know. Let everything combine for a little bit, and then you can go ahead and add your meat back in if you chose to add some, and just leave this over a low flame while we move on to pulling our noodles. And with 1 dough ball at a time, put it on the counter and use a rolling pin to roll it out until it is pretty thin and as much of a rectangle shape as you can get. Then you're going to want to use something to not cut the dough, but make an indent along the middle of your rectangle so that it'll pull nice and evenly and will eventually rip from that space. Gently hold the edges of your little rectangle here and pull really slowly, and it should separate pretty easily. Once it's stretched out to where you feel like it might start to rip, I am breaking it along the indent. Stick your finger through there and it should pull pretty nice and easily along the indent that you made. And now with each of these halves, we're going to continue to pull them gently a little bit more. If you feel nervous that your noodles might start to rip, you can really pull them gently, just kind of like inch by inch, stretching it out. Or it's kind of cheating, but there's nothing wrong with laying it on the counter and just rolling it out. But what the professionals do is they stretch it out and then they smack it on the counter, which makes you feel kind of like cool, like you know what you're doing, even though you probably are like me and you don't really know what you're doing. It's not a big deal, like I can still roll this out and turn it into a noodle, but unlike making Italian pasta where you can let the pasta dry before you boil it, you're gonna wanna cook these noodles pretty much right away. They cook up really quickly, just give them 1 or 2 minutes until they start to float and they're done. But they can stick together, so what I recommend is putting a little bit of sesame oil in a bowl and tossing them around in that, just so they don't stick together while you're rolling and pulling out all the rest of your noodles. Before plating this dish, you might want to scoop out about a half a cup of your noodle cooking liquid to add to the sauce as an addition to the rest of our hot chili oil. I've got a big giant bowl here of the biggest, widest noodles I've ever seen in my life, and I can't wait to taste them. The chili oil is actually quite hot, but somehow you eat the whole dish and you still find yourself wanting more. That is going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe before leaving today and leave me a comment letting me know if you want a bite of these spicy noodles. I got oil on my shirt.